Imagine walking out of a doctor's office with a clean bill of health. Like, you've taken the standard test, the numbers look great, and the doctor literally shakes your hand and says everything is working perfectly. But underneath all that, completely undetected by those standard tests, the actual genetic blueprint inside your cells is, well, it's shattered.
Yeah, it's a terrifying thought, but honestly, it is the reality for countless men navigating the deeply frustrating world of infertility. We rely so heavily on what we can easily measure while completely missing the hidden biological damage.
Right. Which brings us to exactly why we are here. Welcome to your custom-tailored deep dive. If you love a good paradigm shift, you are definitely in the right place today. Because we are looking at a topic that flips a very common medical narrative completely on its head.
We are. And I know you, listening to this, want thorough, holistic knowledge without getting bogged down in, information overload. So we're going to keep this grounded in the biological reality.
Exactly. Today, we're unpacking an incredibly illuminating article from the Berkeley Center for Reproductive Wellness in New York City. The mission for this deep dive is to explore the real science of male fertility. Specifically, how integrative treatments like acupuncture and herbal medicine aren't just, spa treatments, but actual biological interventions that fundamentally alter sperm health on a cellular level.
And that cellular level is where the real story is.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the first thing we need to address is the sheer scale of the misconception here. I mean, we spent decades placing the entire burden of fertility struggles on one partner.
Oh, absolutely. The historical bias in reproductive medicine is just staggering. The cultural narrative almost exclusively focuses on the woman, her age, her hormones, her egg quality.
Right. It's always on the woman.
Always.
Yeah.
Yet the data from the Berkeley Center paints a starkly different reality. Male factor issues are responsible for roughly half of all infertility cases. 50%.
Hey, half.
Yes, half. Despite this, men are frequently undertested and significantly undertreated. It's a massive blind spot in the medical community.
That concept of a blind spot, but also the hope within it, is what really grabbed me in these sources. Because, well, we are taught that female eggs are largely fixed from birth.
Right, the finite reserve.
Exactly. The prevailing idea is that they are like this finite vault of rare vintage wine. You get what you get, and you just have to protect the vault. But the male system operates under completely different biological rules.
It does, and this is where it gets really optimistic. Sperm is produced fresh every 72 to 90 days. That 72 to 90-day window is the foundation of literally everything we are discussing today.
So it's not a static vault at all.
Not even close. Spermatogenesis is a continuous cycle. The lifestyle choices a man makes, his nutritional habits, the environmental toxins he's exposed to, and the treatments he pursues today, all of that directly influences the cellular makeup of the sperm that will be used in conception 3 months from now.
I love that. It's like a factory production line or, a seasonal crop. If the factory machinery is running poorly today, the product rolling off the line is obviously going to be defective.
Exactly. The output just reflects the current environment.
Right. But because it's a factory, you aren't stuck with the hand you were dealt. You can step onto the floor, clean the machinery, upgrade the software, and in just 90 days, you are producing an entirely new, highly optimized product.
What's fascinating here is the biological mechanism underlying that factory upgrade. This 90-day window isn't just a fun piece of trivia. It is a profound window of clinical opportunity for regenerative medicine.
Meaning doctors can actually use that window.
Precisely. When an integrative clinic approaches a patient, they aren't looking at a permanent diagnosis. They are actively utilizing that 3-month biological cycle to change the genetic output. They are intervening in real time.
Okay, so to understand how you actually upgrade that factory, we have to look at what the medical system is currently measuring. And more importantly, what they are completely missing.
Right, the standard tests.
Yeah. Imagine a guy goes to a fertility clinic, he gives a sample, and the doctor runs a standard semen analysis. They're basically grading him on 3 distinct pillars, right?
That's right. The standard semen analysis evaluates count, motility, and morphology. Let's look at count first. It's just a sheer numbers game.
Millions of sperm.
Millions, yeah. A biologically normal count is generally considered to be at least 16 million sperm per milliliter. Anything below that threshold is diagnosed as oligospermia. Because the journey to the egg is so arduous, statistically, you need a massive number of attempts to guarantee a single success.
Basically, millions of troops on the ground just to get one across the finish line. But simply having a massive army doesn't matter if they don't know how to march.
Exactly. That's the second pillar, which is motility. Motility measures movement. Sperm have to navigate a really complex, hostile environment through the cervix, up the uterus, and into the fallopian tubes.
So they had to be strong swimmers.
Very strong. If a man has poor motility, which is known medically as asthenospermia, his sperm might just be swimming in tight circles or remaining entirely stationary. They just don't go anywhere.
Oh, wow. Okay, and the third pillar is the physical equipment they use for that swim, morphology. I actually didn't realize how strict the grading is for this part.
It is incredibly strict.
Yeah, because a normal sperm has to have a very specific oval head and a long, straight tail. If it has a misshapen head or a crooked tail, which I think this source is called pterozoospermia, it physically cannot penetrate the egg.
Right. The shape is crucial for penetration.
And the labs use something called Kruger's strict criteria to grade this. What blew my mind is that just having 4% or more normal forms is actually considered a passing grade.
It really highlights how many imperfect sperm the body naturally produces on a daily basis. So a patient gets his results, his count is over 16 million, his motility shows forward progression, and his morphology hits that 4% mark.
And the doctor declares him perfectly healthy.
Yep, standard high fives all around. But the source material from the Berkeley Center introduces a fourth pillar. This is the hidden saboteur we talked about.
Sperm DNA fragmentation.
Yes, DNA fragmentation measures the actual integrity of the genetic material hidden inside the head of each sperm. It completely bypasses how the sperm looks or swims.
So the outside could look perfect, but the inside is just a mess.
Exactly. It doesn't matter if the sperm is perfectly oval, swims incredibly fast, and is part of a massive 100 million count army. If the DNA payload inside that sperm is shattered, the mission fails.
The statistics on this are absolutely brutal. The sources say high fragmentation, which labs define as anything above 15 to 25%, is heavily associated with fertilization failure, poor embryo development, and recurrent miscarriage.
It's even a primary driver behind entirely failed IVF cycles.
Which leads to an obvious question. Wait, so a man could pass the standard medical test with flying colors, like great count, great swimmers, but he could still have fundamentally flawed genetic material inside the sperm. Why on earth isn't the DFI test a mandatory part of the standard initial screening?
I know, it's maddening. That is the core frustration for so many reproductive specialists right now. Standard medical protocols are notoriously slow to evolve. Routine testing relies on visually observable metrics like count and shape because they are cheaper, older, and easier to perform in a basic lab.
But they are missing the most important part.
Completely missing it. Testing for DNA fragmentation requires a separate specialized test called the Sperm DNA Fragmentation Index, or DFI, and the science is there. The Moskovtsev study from 2009 clearly proved the association between high DFI and recurrent pregnancy loss.
And that was back in 2009.
Right. Then a 2017 study by Esteves strongly advocated for making DFI testing routine. Yet a decade later, couples are still being left in the dark.
Okay, so if the DNA is physically shattering inside the cell, we have to look at what is swinging the hammer. Like a guy feels perfectly fine, he goes to the gym, he thinks he's healthy. What is actually breaking his genetic material apart?
The primary physiological villain is elevated oxidative stress.
Oxidative stress.
Yes. To understand this, you have to look at it on a molecular level. Oxidative stress is essentially biological rust. It happens when you have too many unstable molecules called free radicals in your system.
Like little scavengers.
Exactly like scavengers. These free radicals are missing an electron, so they aggressively scour your body looking for one to steal. When they reach the tests, they literally rip electrons away from the sperm DNA, causing the strands to fracture and break.
Man, that sounds aggressive. And what triggers that biological rust in the first place?
It's a combination of modern lifestyle and environment. Smoking, poor diet, and environmental toxins are massive drivers. But a remarkably common culprit is actually just heat.
Just heat.
Yeah.
Like being too warm.
Yeah, exactly. The testicles are located outside the body because spermatogenesis requires a temperature slightly cooler than the rest of your core. So sitting with a hot laptop on your lap, regular hot tub use, tight clothing, or a medical condition called a varicocele, which is an enlarged vein in the scrotum that pools warm blood, all of those elevate that temperature.
And that heat just cooks the DNA.
While heat accelerates oxidative stress, add in chronic inflammation and high psychological stress, and you have a perfect storm for shattering DNA.
So if heat, toxins, and stress are physically rusting the cells and ripping electrons away, simply telling a guy to just go home and relax and try again next month isn't going to fix the underlying biological damage.
Not at all.
How do you actually put the fire out? This is where the integrative approach comes in. The Berkeley Center specializes in utilizing acupuncture and herbal medicine to intervene during that 90-day window.
Yes, they use that window to physically alter the environment.
But I have to admit, the idea of using needles to fix shattered DNA sounds like a stretch until you actually look at the physiological mechanisms.
I totally get that. It's vital to separate the modern clinical application of acupuncture from the vague idea of just a relaxing spa treatment. The relaxation effect is merely a byproduct. The primary mechanisms are deeply physiological.
So what actually happens when the needles go in?
When sterile needles are placed at specific anatomical points, they trigger measurable biological responses. First, they significantly increase local microcirculation or blood flow to the testes.
So just flushing the area out.
Exactly. Better blood flow means a massive influx of nutrients and, crucially, the efficient removal of those damaging free radicals. You are physically flushing out the environment where oxidative stress thrives.
And it's also manipulating the hormones, right? Like it actively lowers cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone, which we know suppresses reproductive function.
It does, but perhaps the most profound mechanism is its ability to regulate the hypothalamic pituitary gonadal axis, or the HPG axis. This is the complex hormonal signaling cascade between your brain and your reproductive organs.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because you can picture the HPG axis like a massive communication relay tower.
Oh, that's a great way to look at it.
Right. Your brain is the dispatcher, trying to send a clear signal down to the testes to produce high-quality sperm. But if you have extreme psychological stress or systemic inflammation, it's like heavy static jamming the radio signal. The message gets completely garbled.
And the testes just don't know what to do.
Exactly. So acupuncture essentially steps in like an electrician. It clears the static, rewires the local blood flow, and allows those vital testosterone and sperm production messages to finally get through loud and clear.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, these ancient practices are acting as highly targeted, evidence-based interventions. They're directly lowering the biological rust and regulating testicular temperature.
And there are actual clinical studies backing this up, right?
Oh, absolutely. The Berkeley article points to a 2005 study by P and a rigorous 2009 placebo-controlled study by Dieterle. Both of those demonstrated statistically significant improvements in motility and morphology using real acupuncture compared to sham controls.
So it's not just a placebo effect.
No, it's measurable. There's also a 2003 Gerfinkel study that showed targeted improvements in severe semen abnormalities following structured acupuncture protocols. What stands out to you about the intersection of ancient practices and modern clinical metrics?
The thing that really shifts my perspective on this is how we talk about herbal medicine in this same context. Like, we aren't just brewing a nice cup of chamomile tea here.
Not at all. It's much more clinical than that.
Practitioners are conducting a massive, comprehensive medical intake to find the specific root cause of a patient's oxidative stress. And then they are prescribing evidence-informed botanical formulas to act as literal biological agents.
Absolutely. It is never a one-size-fits-all approach. The herbs are prescribed to address the specific metabolic dysfunction of the individual. And we know exactly how these botanicals work on a cellular level.
Goes back to those free radicals, doesn't it?
Yes. Remember those free radicals we talked about?
Right.
The unstable molecules stealing electrons and shattering the DNA?
Right, the biological rust.
Exactly. Many of these specific botanical formulas are incredibly dense in powerful antioxidants. Antioxidants are molecules that carry extra electrons.
So they act like decoys.
In a way, yes. They flood the system, intercept the free radicals, and freely donate an electron to them. They neutralize the threat before the free radical can ever reach the sperm DNA. You are literally halting the rusting process at a chemical level.
That is wild, and the clinical studies backing these specific herbs are really robust. The article cites a 2002 study by Zhang showing that astragalus extract significantly increased sperm motility, like it physically helped the sperm swim better.
Yes, and there are more. A 1996 study by Salvati showed Panax ginseng supplementation led to actual measurable improvements in sperm count, motility, and testosterone levels.
Just from an herb. That's incredible.
We also have the Gonzalez study from 2001 showing maca improves sperm concentration and motility. Furthermore, a comprehensive 1999 systematic review by Kamishka firmly established the clinical benefit of antioxidant treatments, like the ones found in these custom herbal formulas, in combating the oxidative stress that drives male infertility.
Okay, so we have the biology mapped out. We understand the 90-day window. We see how the needles act as an electrician clearing the radiostatic, and how the herbs act as antioxidants neutralizing the rust.
Right, the mechanisms are clear.
But how does this actually translate to a couple sitting in a clinic desperate for a child? The Berkeley Center provided a couple of case studies, and we really need to slow down and look at them, because the contrast between the standard medical route and this integrative approach is just jarring.
It is. These case studies bridge the gap between abstract clinical data and the lived reality of navigating infertility. The emotional and financial toll of this process just cannot be overstated.
Let's look at David. He's 38 years old. He and his wife had already gone through 2 failed IVF cycles. Anyone who has brushed up against the world of IVF knows it is absolutely grueling.
It is intensely difficult physically and emotionally.
The woman is enduring weeks of hormone injections, invasive egg retrievals, and crushing disappointment, not to mention the tens of thousands of dollars spent, and they have 2 massive failures under their belt.
So what happens next for David?
Well, David's doctor looks at his standard semen analysis. His count is fine. His motility is fine, and incredibly, his reproductive endocrinologist never even orders the DNA fragmentation test.
This is that blind spot in action. The standard medical system looked at David, saw a normal count, and implicitly put the entirety of the failure on the IVF process or his partner's egg quality. They just assumed the sperm was fine because it looked fine under a basic microscope.
But the Berkeley Center took a completely different approach. They actually ordered the DFI test, and the results showed David's DNA fragmentation was at 42%.
Wow, 42% is astronomically high. That is far above the 15 to 25% threshold associated with any sort of IVF success. His genetic payload was completely compromised.
So they utilized that 90-day window. David began twice-weekly acupuncture sessions to improve local blood flow and reduce stress. He was prescribed a customized herbal formula, specifically targeting the oxidative stress destroying his cells.
And they probably addressed his diet, too.
They did. He made targeted dietary changes and added specific antioxidant supplements.
And remember, the timeline is everything here.
Right. 3 months. That's all it took to run a new batch of product off the factory line. After 3 months of this integrative treatment, his DFI plummeted from an unviable 42% down to just 14%.
That is a massive drop.
Huge. He moved squarely into the normal, healthy range. His wife underwent her 3rd IVF cycle. They transferred 3 high-quality blastocysts, and she is now 22 weeks pregnant with their first child. 3 months of treating the man changed the entire outcome.
It is such a powerful story. It proves a fundamental concept. Assisted reproductive technology is infinitely more successful when you take the time to optimize the biological raw materials first. Now consider the second case study, Marcus.
Oh, Marcus. Yeah, he was 34, and his situation was entirely different. Marcus and his partner had been trying to conceive naturally for 18 months with no success.
It's been a year and a half of trying.
Yeah. And his standard semen analysis didn't look perfectly normal like David's did. It was actually terrible. He had an extremely low count, only 8 million per milliliter, which is half of the standard minimum threshold.
Very low.
And his motility was sluggish at only 28%.
In this scenario, what was the standard medical advice offered by his reproductive urologist?
This is the crazy part. The urologist offered absolutely zero treatment to improve Marcus's health. Instead, they told Marcus and his partner to jump straight to IVF with ICSI.
ICSI, intracytoplasmic sperm injection.
Right. For anyone who doesn't know, it is a highly invasive procedure where embryologists literally take a microscopic needle and manually inject a single sperm directly into the center of an egg.
It completely bypasses natural selection, and it is one of the most expensive procedures available in reproductive medicine.
Just skipping straight to the most extreme option.
It highlights a pervasive philosophy in modern medicine. Don't bother fixing the underlying cellular dysfunction. Just use extreme technology to bypass the broken system entirely.
But Marcus and his partner sought a proactive approach. They wanted to actually fix the root cause.
Which makes total sense.
So he underwent 4 months of weekly acupuncture to regulate his HPG axis. He took a personalized herbal formula designed to flood his system with antioxidants and support sperm production.
And they gave it the time it needed.
4 months later, that factory upgrade was complete. His count skyrocketed from a dismal 8 million to 22 million.
Wow.
I know. His motility jumped from 28% up to 48%. Both metrics were now firmly back in the normal, healthy range.
That's incredible.
And because they fixed the cellular environment, they didn't need the wildly expensive IVF with ICSI. They conceived naturally just 2 months later.
The source material is careful to note that results vary and are never guaranteed. Biology is complex, But Marcus's case represents a vital shift in
A
perspective.
huge shift.
Right. By taking a few months to treat the root cause of the cellular dysfunction, by improving the physical environment in which the sperm are created, they restored natural function. They treated the human being, not just the lab result.
So what does this all mean? We started this deep dive exploring a medical landscape that felt fatalistic and, frankly, heavily biased. But the truth hidden in these sources is incredibly empowering.
It really is.
Male fertility makes up 50% of the equation, and it is highly adaptable. We learned that the factory resets every 90 days. We discovered that DNA fragmentation is the silent, untested saboteur destroying standard IVF cycles.
And we know how to fight it.
Exactly. Most importantly, we learned that integrative treatments, like customized botanical formulas acting as targeted antioxidants and acupuncture clearing the biological static, are scientifically proven mechanisms to clear the biological rust and drastically improve genetic health.
It demands that patients become active participants in their own health outcomes. The Berkeley Center's approach proves that true reproductive wellness requires zooming out.
Seeing the whole picture.
Yes. It requires looking at the whole picture. Diet, systemic inflammation, stress, environmental exposures, and treating the underlying cellular health rather than rushing to bypass it with technology.
It really makes you rethink everything we assume is just permanently broken or fixed about our bodies.
This raises an important question. If a man's daily lifestyle, his stress levels, and holistic interventions like targeted botanicals and acupuncture can fundamentally alter the actual genetic integrity of his cells in just 90 days, what other seemingly inevitable aspects of our bodies and our overall health might actually be highly responsive to the unseen environments we put them in?